Hi, I'm Matt Reyna.
And I'm Reyna.
And you're watching
The Screening Room.
Not to put a damper on everything, but I was honestly a little disappointed by a lot of the ads that came out this year.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were very great, like as we'll get to, but some of them were very much stinkers, and that usually happens, but there were a lot more stinkers than usual, and then sadly enough, there were a lot more just okay ones. They're not any fun, because you don't hate them, but you don't like them either. There were a lot of those this year. Very few good ones.
And a lot of the commercials too I saw, especially the car commercials, all tried to do the same thing as the whole Farmers ad from last year.
Yeah, ever since the Farmers ad from last year, everyone's been trying to do that inspirational thing, and I know their heart's in the right place, but then no one can really has the same feeling as that farmer one did.
Yeah, all the other ones felt like cookie cutters to me. It was like verite style footage of people like jumping off trees or walking through fields, and it's all in that kind of steely gray look that tries to tell you that this is serious.
This is
serious!
All
the while, this narrator drones on about stuff that makes no sense. He's like waxing poetic.
And the worst part about those commercials, like all this inspiring stuff, and at the end it's like, Maserati! Like, oh, okay, what the heck did that have to do with anything? How does that make me want to buy a Maserati?
Anyway, back to our main idea. Today, we're going to be looking at the best and worst of the Super Bowl commercials from this year, starting with the best, beginning with number 7, Jaguar, British villains.
Have you ever noticed how in Hollywood movies all the villains are played by Brits?
Maybe we just sound right.
We're more focused. More precise.
Now, the title is pretty self-explanatory. It's 3 famous British actors known for their villainous roles, doing villainous things, all the while advertising the new Jaguar cars. Here we have Sir Ben Kingsley, best known for his villainous roles in the movies like Sexy Beast, The Prince of Persia,
and Iron Man 3.
And Iron Man 3. The guy who plays Loki,
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, who's best known for playing, Loki.
And in the eyes of every teenage girl, perfect man.
Yeah, I don't really get that.
Well, mainly fans.
And then you have, of course, Mark Strong, who is best known for his roles in such movies as Sherlock Holmes, that famous British show where he played a gangster, and Rock and Rolla.
And John Carter, but nobody saw that.
Oh. And basically, there's not really a very tight plot to this commercial, but it's very stylishly directed. The actors all do their best and seem to have a good time hamming it up and poking fun at their usual villain images in the media. It doesn't blatantly try to shove the whole Jaguar thing down your throat as much as some of the other car commercials on this year did.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a masterpiece, but I'd say I definitely liked it.
Yeah, it was very good.
It was fun to see them all together in the one commercial. And I would definitely give it an A.
It's almost, you should call it the negative of the Avengers.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, basically.
It would have been perfect if they had Bob Hoskins, then it would have been perfect.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. So, all in all, very good. Pip pip cheerio. Now, on to number 6. T-Mobile. What would Tim Tebow do with no contract?
Tim Tebow here. Everyone thinks I want a contract, but without one, I've done so much this year.
Nervous father's the mic! White 20 motion!
Is that Tim
Why did he
Tebow?
breathe? Putt hard!
Now, the pun in this is that T-Mobile has recently started a no-contract campaign. And all the while, Tim Tebow, for those of you who aren't in the know, was a famous football player for the Denver Broncos who got cut from the team, or actually traded, and then cut from the team he was traded to. And now he's a free agent because he has no contract. Yes. So what better way to advertise your no-contract policy than by having this free agent, Tim Tebow, be in it? And basically, it's showing Tim Tebow, now that he's not tied down to any team, being free to do whatever he likes.
Yeah.
Which includes saving the world, being in an action film,
Going into space,
performing a rock concert, and even delivering babies.
Heck yeah!
Oh, and also tackling Sasquatch.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Which is almost like giving birth to a baby.
Tim Tebow seems to have a really good time poking fun at his image, and he actually does put a lot of effort.
Yeah, he's actually a really good actor. I mean, usually, you all know, they always have sports people, like that Chicken McNugget commercial, where they can't act out of a paper bag.
We were playing for the Mighty Wing.
And the lights went out.
Yeah.
Did you bring the sauce?
I mean, I'm not saying he's Oscar material, but I'm just saying he did really good. he was actually funny.
And I think this ad, the good thing about this ad too, is that it has all the requirements you usually need for like a funnier ad.
Mm-hmm.
It has lots of craziness and whatnot, and all the while it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like super overproduced or flashy, or it's a really entertaining ad, I must say. It definitely deserves to be on this list. Now, number 5, Eminem's Delivery.
Peanut M&M for everyone.
Wait, what?
Now, this is a pretty clever parody of a modern-day action thriller in which a Russian mobster threatens to have his victim horribly disposed of and fed to his guests. But the clincher is that the victim, in this case, is the yellow M&M, who seems totally oblivious to the fact that he's about to be eaten by a bunch of Russian mafia people.
I don't know what you're saying, but I'm in. That's my
Yes.
best impression. But also, it's very well done because it's for the first time in a long time. It's actually a very good M&M's commercial. Because recently, they've been okay. I mean, they've had a lot of more provocative stuff in there. Nothing nasty, just more provocative for an M&M's commercial. Now it finally seems like they're going back to their roots of their comedy, which is just about the M&M's being eaten.
And I like that the directors did this really good job at like parodying the look and feel of like a serious Russian mafia type movie, which I've seen a couple of those in my time. But yeah, definitely it's one of the best M&M's commercials I've seen in a while, and I think it definitely fits into the whole Super Bowl ad type of mode that we've been looking for. Okay, on to number 4, Doritos Time Machine.
It's really working, Jimmy. This is the greatest moment.
Now this is a really simple ad. A boy tricks a man into going into a cardboard time machine and making off with the guy's Doritos. Just then, an old guy who just so happens to be dressed identically to the boy chases the kid off of the lawn. The man steps out of the time machine, sees what he believes to be the future version of the boy, and goes nuts. You're so old.
End scene.
Yeah, it's a really simple one-joke idea, but it actually works very well. It was actually made for a Doritos contest, and the director of the commercial actually won $1,000 for his work.
It was actually $1 million.
Oh,
$1 million
That's
for
something.
his work.
It actually went up against another commercial that was aired during that same evening, but this one definitely takes the cake.
It was just a very simple idea. No explosions, no like wild animals that talk, no babies that poop their pants, nothing like that. Just simple idea. Not that I have anything against those ones, but I'd like to see something more simple and just very well done, And the look was nice. It wasn't like that weird color grading, that a lot of people do with those commercials. Very simple idea. Good acting too.
It's everything you could basically expect and want from a Doritos commercial for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, just awesome. Just great job, man.
Number 3, U2 Red. For those of you who don't know, U2 has been a proud sponsor of the Red Foundation, which is searching for the cure for AIDS. And they've done a number of concerts and benefits for them.
Yep.
This commercial, which if you download the song featured in the commercial, you'll donate $1 to Red. Well, you have to do the deadline, which was a few days ago. But anyway, the commercial itself is nothing too over the top. It's just concert footage of them performing in front of a live
This
audience.
awesome microphone that comes down from the top and they hold it like this, like in this ring we have like something like that,
Yeah, and it's filmed in like great black and white cinematography.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that was black and white, you just throw it on there and it's gonna look great. But no, you have to do like different sort of like lighting techniques and then like post stuff that you have to do after it to make it look good. And I really like that they brought out the whites in it without getting rid of much of the black.
Yeah, I
shadows.
really like the choice of black and white. It really drew your attention to it more than if it was just like an ordinary color.
And it's very well needed because at the end when they show the logo of Red, the red really pops out and reminds you of what it is that they're sponsoring.
But the best part about the commercial, besides the black and white cinematography, which is awesome, is that there's a good sense of hype energy going on in the commercial. Especially when they bring out all those flashlights and the black and white. It really draws your attention to the lights better than if it was just in color.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely one of the best looking ads of the night.
Great job.
It's not very long, but it's still very memorable. Now we're going to skip over number 2 because, as it turns out,
we have 2 winners for the best Super Bowl commercial of the year.
yes. Now the reason we did this is because we have a funny ad and
A more serious.
but inspirational ad, both of which are great.
And if you're wondering, well, how is they're tied? No, they're not tied. They both have won for best Super Bowl commercial in our opinion, but it's like at the Golden Globes where they do two things for Best Picture. One is for Best Musical Comedy, and one for Best Drama. But they did those two movies in a tie. They just won two different categories of first place. So that's what this is.
Yeah, and so we're going to start off with the fun ad, which was for Radio Shack, the 80s of home.
Okay, so the plot of this commercial is that two guys are working at a Radio Shack. It's drab, it's old looking, you know, and then they get a call and one of them answers, and somebody on the phone, like a crank call, or what they believe to be a crank call, says the 80s have called, they want their store back. So he tells his other friend, and immediately, barging through the door comes every single pop culture reference from the 80s that you can imagine. And they begin to destroy the store, take everything they can, and just completely steal everything like a looting fest and leave. And then at the end, they reveal the new look of the brand new Radio Shack. And it's done very well.
You've got pretty much every kind of 80s pop culture icon in this commercial.
You've got Hulk Hogan, Dee Snider, you got Eric Estrada, Chucky, Jason Voorhees, Alf, the DeLorean at the end.
Kid and
Play, both. Yeah, the Kid and Play. They also have John Ratzenberger.
Yeah, it's Cliff Clavin.
Yeah,
it's for the first time in
and
years.
Mary Lou Retton's actually even there too, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah, overall,
yeah, it's a really simple concept, but they really figured out how to make it work without it being just like overly cheesy or ridiculous. It really works. It has everything, all the good makings for like a funny Super Bowl ad.
And they built up upon it too, without it being. Sometimes Super Bowl commercials they do too complicated or too simple. This one had a simple idea that they built up into a stronger commercial, which it's very well done. Good job, the Radio Shack. It's honestly one of my favorite commercials of all time now. It's just so greatly done. And there's two things I want to point out about this video that make it so great. Is not only did they could have just had people dress up like the 80s, but they didn't. They had celebrities there from the 80s, which is really clever idea. And also, it's very nice that Radio Shack even pokes fun at themselves about the whole, like, nobody shops at Radio Shack anymore. It's old news. It's so great that a company can make fun of itself. We're in a kind of an age where everyone's kind of building themselves up about how
like
great
every
they are.
car commercial we saw during this night, we're always trying to make themselves out to be some kind of great achievement in humanity. But Radio Shack did a smarter thing and actually made fun of themselves.
And that was
really
really
the same
refreshing.
way they gave themselves away free advertising.
Yeah.
Not free advertising, but you can imagine.
Yeah, and it's just really nice for a company to, you know, not take themselves so seriously. They understand that they're kind of older, but they're ready to change their ways and move on to the future, which is great.
And finally, for our best inspirational ad of the evening, we have Duracell's The Power Within with Derek Coleman.
They gave up on me. Told me I should just quit, but I've been deaf since I was 3, so I didn't listen.
As you may know, that Derek Coleman is the first deaf offensive player in the NFL.
The ad is basically a mini movie because it's very cinematic in the way it's told and edited and shot and narrated, showing how he grew up struggling because of his hearing impairment and how he managed to beat the odds and make something of himself by becoming one of the most famous NFL players currently playing.
And one of the best NFL players.
Yeah, but you can't disagree with that. This is just a very powerful, gripping commercial. It's everything you would want to see in an inspirational Super Bowl ad. Everything from the cinematography to the narration, the story, and the editing all comes together nicely. There's not one false note in this whole thing. And it also does a good job of advertising Duracell, showing how it powers his hearing aids. Yeah, I mean, this is easily one of the greatest football ads I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and also that of all the editing and stuff, it doesn't take away from the person it's about. 'Cause sometimes they make commercials and it's about one person, but they do so much in the commercial that you forget about the person in it. But instead, the filmmaking of this commercial actually goes hand in hand with the story of him, which is done very well.
Yeah, it's everything, as I said before, you can want in Super Bowl ads. I definitely would consider it one of my favorite commercials of all time. And it's genuinely inspiring without being sappy or sentimental or overblown like some of the other ads we mentioned. Like where there's a lot of ads that try to do the inspirational thing and they just come off as like pretentious nonsense. This one, there's not one false note in this ad.
Yes, this is a very true ad.
Yeah,
a
very honest one.
Great ad.
And it deserves to be on the #1 list.
Yes. And now that we have done the best commercials of the Super Bowl of 2014, it is now time for the worst commercials of Super Bowl 2014.
Yes. Starting off with number 7, Hyundai Elantra.
Nice!
Nice plot twist.
Hey, no, I'm gonna hop out.
The new Elantra. Nice.
It was not nice.
It was horrible.
Now, it seemed like it was going to be very promising at the beginning as Johnny Galecki driving along.
But it's always nice to see Johnny Galecki.
And he's talking to this girl in another car, and you're kind of flirting, and all of a sudden he finds himself caught up in all these pyrotechnics and this madness and stuff.
And the celebrity guy behind him, who I know who he is, I just can't remember his name. And I know people are going to be mad at me, but I just can't.
The main problem with this ad is that it starts off promising and never finishes off, it never pays off. The story makes little sense. There's not really a lot going on in terms of cleverness or...
Just basically a lot of exploding things.
Yeah, there's basically a lot of exploding and fire, and
the story's kind of confusing too. They're kind of flirting, but somehow everything that she's rhyming with what he's saying that has to do with the car, I guess. And then everything she says comes true. I really don't know.
yeah, it feels like a really slapdash commercial. It feels like it was thrown together really quickly.
Yeah, maybe it's
And
just
a lot of
me,
special effects are pretty obvious too.
Yeah.
It feels like just another overproduced Super Bowl commercial. Yeah, the whole thing just ends abruptly and then it kind of goes nowhere. So yeah, it's definitely one of my least favorite.
Yeah.
Not as bad as some of the other ones, but still pretty bad.
We'll get to those.
Okay, now on to number 6, Nestle Butterfinger cups.
Yes, it's Mr. Butterfinger. I'm sorry, what are we doing here?
Now, I like peanut butter cups and I like Butterfingers. I don't know how they would taste together, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the commercial in which peanut butter and chocolate are depicted as being a couple with a kind of a boring relationship visiting a psychiatrist. And then the psychiatrist, without actually saying it, he suggests that they have an open relationship. And all of a sudden, a guy that's supposed to be Butterfinger jumps in and he starts immediately hitting on the wife while the husband just kind of sits there awkwardly. It's really awkward. It feels really inappropriate, even for a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, I understand the joke, but I didn't laugh at the joke.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing.
I really was not feeling this ad at all.
I get the joke, I just don't find the joke funny.
It's a stupid premise with an obvious punchline. For some reason, it reminded me a lot of that really stupid fake Skittles ad where the lady has a baby that's a Skittle.
Yeah,
It's
it was
peanut
like
butter.
that. It was like
Yeah.
those go hand in hand. Coming to number 5 on the list is SodaStream. Sorry, Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, you doing it. Changing the world, one sip at a time.
Sorry, Coke and Pepsi.
Now, here's the thing. There's supposedly there was a banned version of this ad that couldn't be aired, but it wasn't for anything that was inappropriate or provocative. It was just because Scarlett Johansson says,
Sorry, Coke and Pepsi.
and apparently you're not allowed to slander another brand of Coke in a soda ad or something.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
But anyway, the ad, there's really not a whole lot to this ad. She basically demonstrates how to work the SodaStream machine, makes herself a soda. All of a sudden the walls break away, she dons a dress, and then there's like an R&B band behind her and a very white wannabe on the voiceover, trying to make it look as though what she's doing is sexy, even though it really isn't.
Yeah.
This really commercial has nothing going for it except for the star's appearance and sex appeal.
If your commercial is solely based on the celebrity or person that you, whether a man or woman, sex appeal, you have already lost at it being the best commercial.
Yeah,
That's all you have going for it, then you can just get on YouTube and watch something bad.
Yeah, this is basically one of the most forgettable commercials of the evening.
Yeah,
I think they actually showed it twice, and I still didn't even remember
Yeah,
it.
nothing against Scarlett Johansson. She's a very pretty woman. She's also a very good actress. She's funny and she's a very nice person. But honestly, the commercial in this, all she was a piece of meat by the people who made it, and it's pretty sad.
Yeah,
I feel
this
bad
was
for
just
her.
they totally wasted the talent in this whole thing. They could have easily done so much more with this ad than what ultimately was brought to the table.
Yeah,
a total
so-
disappointment.
It was just bad.
Sorry, Coke and Pepsi.
Now, number 4, GoDaddy Bodybuilders.
Good morning. It's a beauteous day.
Ugh.
The title pretty much explains it all. A bunch of bodybuilders go running on the street while this happy-go-lucky song plays. And finally, after all this running, the punchline finally arrives when they stop at a tanning salon, and the lady working there is like, "It's
It's go
time."
time.
Yeah.
We get the joke, but I didn't find it
It's
funny.
just, basically it's just an overly long extended joke with a very flat punchline.
Yeah, little payoff. I mean, I know a lot of people. remember when we watched it at our house, we had people over, and when they bodybuilders came out, they all went "oh" and stuff. And honestly, I mean, some people like think the bodybuilder thing was somehow. I guess I'm not sure if they intended this, but it seemed to me that they thought, oh, we show these bodybuilders running, that will get people's attention of like "oh" and stuff. But it didn't. I didn't have that reaction. I just like, oh, there's bodybuilders, and like, yeah, they're big and stuff, but I didn't get that reaction of. I guess that was supposed to be part of it, but I didn't see that. But just overall,
The ad is too simple.
yeah, bodybuilders aside, I mean, you could have had the same joke with the Jersey Shore people running down the street, or the Real Housewives of New Jersey, and notice how everyone I'm saying is from New Jersey, but basically anybody that is known for tanning, they could have had running down that street, and then the Lazy Hates Go Time. So
I don't even remember how this was related to GoDaddy at all.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, well, apparently it was supposed to be like that's her. Somehow her small business has gotten out, I guess, to the bodybuilders, and now want to come to her shop. But it's just very little payoff. The joke is way too simple, but unlike the Radio Shack joke, which had a simple idea, but they built upon it. This one just stayed simple, but they didn't go anywhere with it. They didn't try to build on it. They just kind of
It's
left
just
it.
an overly extended joke with a baby little punchline. And number 3, Oikos Greek yogurt, the spill.
Oh.
There was a lot of hype around this commercial, supposedly being the Full House reunion of Uncle Jesse, Uncle Joey, and Bob Saget, because I don't know his name on the show.
Yeah.
Just Bob
Yeah,
Saget.
we're not fans of the show.
Bob Saget! Yeah, but it was a lot of hype around it, and I even remember at one point when I saw a bit of the commercial, before I didn't watch it on YouTube, I think it came on as an ad, and I skipped it, obviously. But I remember thinking, like, oh, there's another Oikos Greek yogurt commercial besides this one? And then I didn't realize, oh my gosh, that was it, because I mean, a lot of this hype was for this whole thing, and then nothing happens. Explain the plot.
There really isn't even a plot. It's John Stamos and some sexy lady eating yogurt provocatively.
And then she's like taking it off his mouth and putting it in her mouth, and then
Yeah.
he does it again, and he's like, oops! And then she takes it and goes, and then he does it, and again, but then it drops and lands supposedly on his groin crotchal area. And then she looks down like, oh, and then he's like, oh yeah. And then immediately he's interrupted by the Goofy Boys, which is Bob
Joey and
Bob Saget. And then they're cleaning, and then they make him take off his pants,
Yeah, there's nothing
which isn't creepy.
Yeah, there's nothing sadder than an ad that believes it's hilarious when everyone knows that it's not. And this is one of those ads. It's crude, it's cheesy, and it's over before you know it. I
Yeah,
mean, there's all this hype, and it's all for nothing, basically.
Like, honestly, when I watch Super Bowl, I understand there's gonna be some provocative things, but I don't know.
This one was just tasteless.
It is tasteless. It wasn't even done funny in a way of, you know, some stuff that they've done before has some provocative stuff, but
this wasn't even clever.
It wasn't clever. It was just like, I've seen this joke so many times before, like all the time, about the whole something to do with the cornhole area. But it's just, I mean, this was done terribly.
Yeah, this would have been number 1 if there weren't any other 2 worst ads in this, but believe me, there are. We're
Yeah.
gonna get to those shortly. But number 2, Chevy Romance.
And hello, ladies.
This ad is a total mismatch of styles and ideas.
If you ever thought of something being inconsistent, this video would come up.
Yeah, it starts off kind of as like a serious, well, a little bit more of a dramatic ad, kind of like the whole Clydesdale ad from last year about the man and his horse, but this one's a man and his bull. And then it turns into like this comical ad, and they suddenly start playing Hot Chocolates, Do You Believe in Miracles?
Who I used to think was a woman singing it.
Yeah, he's got a
I
high voice.
believe in miracles!
So yeah, anyway, and then they're driving along in the Chevy truck, and the narrator's talking about it a bit.
It's almost like a mixture of
This
several
is
of
the-
the commercials we saw
Yeah,
tonight.
this is the only part where they actually kind of advertise the truck. It starts off as like it's gonna tell a story, then it just starts blatantly advertising, And then finally they arrive at the destination, where apparently they're going to put the bull among some heifers to stud. Because, you know, everyone wants to see cows, you know...
Implied doing it to make more cows.
This is just really a bizarre ad. I don't know what they were thinking when they made this.
Like,
I mean, how do you make cattle sexy? I mean, who looks at a bovine and thinks, yup, that's one of the sexiest animals in God's creation? It's not.
I know. I mean, I understand they were trying to make fun like it's supposed to be sexy, but it's not sexy. But, I mean, the joke, I mean, again, I understand the joke. It's just not funny.
Yeah, it's
At
just,
least to me.
it totally falls flat. And I didn't like, too, how they tried to, I guess they wanted to, like, defy the expectations of the viewer by making it appear like it was going to be more heartwarming and stuff. And it just doesn't work. It's filmed like one of those really dramatic commercials with kind of the saturated, grayed out look.
Which it was filmed very nicely, but it just doesn't match the comedic thing they were trying to do.
It's like a lot of the ads, it's just a bunch of pretty pictures and not much else. And
Yeah.
in the end,
A lot like the
I
people
found
who
the
starred
humor-
in them.
I found the ending too to be really awkward and questionable, even for a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah.
Like, how did they expect most viewers to find animals' sexiness funny? I don't really. I guess if you like certain Adam Sandler movies, but yeah, this was just a total misfire of an ad.
Moink!
Not as much as the #1 ad, which we will get to right now. At #1, Audi's Dober Wawa.
I've never seen a breed like this.
Nor have I.
I don't know what to make of it, frankly.
It's unsettling. It's disturbing to look at it directly. How did this dog get past regions? That's what I want to know.
Now, this ad got quite a lot of attention during the night, mainly for being the #1 worst ad. But you know why? Because it is that bad.
It is bad.
Basically, a couple goes to a pet shop looking for a dog. The husband wants a tiny little chihuahua. His wife wants a big old Doberman. And then the somewhat creepy pet store clerk says, "Hey, why don't you breed them and make a Dober Wawa?"
You can compromise. You can breed them.
I'm not really sure how that ties in with the Audi. It says something about not compromising on an Audi, but I don't really know how that relates with breeding a Doberman and a Chihuahua. Anyway, then it shows a couple imagining the scenario in which a world where Dober Wawas exist. And what you have is this really cartoonish and poorly animated monster that's like, looks like, you remember how the dog on The Mask looked?
Yeah!
It's got an oversized head with giant teeth, and its body is really tiny and petite. And you got all these situations which it's causing mischief and attacking people and having a hard time supporting its head. The joke stops being funny at like 10 seconds, and yet the ad continues for another 20.
Like, if they were gonna do this, they should have done something like, throughout the whole thing of like the couple going different places about, oh, excuse me, sorry. Okay, if they were gonna do this, they should have done the commercial, in my opinion, like with the couple going to several different places and having the compromise and thinking about the bad choices to make. The Dober Wawa should have just been one of those things. Like if they were at the pet shop and said, you can always compromise it and make it a Dober Wawa. And then they should have showed it like quickly and then come back and they go, no. And then they go to another place and they're like at a restaurant or something and they're like, oh, I don't know what to get, a fish or a fried fish or fried chicken. They said, well, you can compromise and have a fried fish chicken and like have this creature like a chicken. Like if you're gonna try and do stuff like something like that, that's not a full idea. Just don't make the Dober Wawa the whole thing. You paid $2 million for a commercial at the Super Bowl. Don't make the Dober Wawa joke the whole thing.
Because, I mean,
like,
it's
my
obvious,
God.
It's so obvious they wanted the audience to love this ad. You can tell from every second it said, oh, this is going to be a classic. They're going to remember this for years to come. It's going to be the next, what's up? But it's not. It's not.
And also, one more thing. In a world where we have this great CGI effects, that sometimes is a little overdone, but honestly, there were some ads that I did that have CGI effects that were very good or well done, at least passable. This one, like, I don't understand. Were they using an old computer with a CGI software from back in the day? Did someone buy one of those Pixar computers from that garage sale that they were selling them from and finally decided to make a CGI character for a commercial out of this? Because I don't understand how someone could have watched and said, oh, this looks great, you know? The whole dog looks terrible.
I can't even imagine this idea really looking that good on paper. I mean, it seems like it's amusing for the first like 5 or 10 seconds, and after that, it's like, okay, we get the joke. That's the ad.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how this exactly ties in with the Audi.
Yeah.
I know it's about not compromising, but what is it compromising? Fuel, mileage, style?
I guess room and style. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It was terrible.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those ads that the Super Bowl people would like to forget about.
Yeah, throw.
I mean, I even remember when we were watching it as it aired that no one was really laughing their butts off.
Yeah,
over it.
some people were like, oh,
Like,
look at it, it's got a big head, like George Lopez. Okay, it stopped being funny.
Yeah.
Okay, how much longer till this ad's over?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's almost done.
So, final thoughts.
$2 million right there. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, so final thoughts. Dober Wawa is a one-joke idea that doesn't really go anywhere. So,
ironically, for a car commercial, it doesn't go anywhere.
so thanks for watching, and we'll hope to see you next time from
The Screening Room.